Good afternoon, guys. Today we are going to talk about the Bill of Rights. And we've learned a little bit about it in class, but I want you to go back and really recognize each amendment and see if you understand it completely or not. So one way we're going to do this is by going through each of the amendments, and you have a graphic organizer that you brought home for homework. And it's got 10 blocks on there. And they go across. So the first two at the top are Amendment 1 and 2, and then it goes down 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. So I want you to get comfortable with these amendments and write down some facts about each one that really fit. And we're going to start with Amendment 1. So this is called a Prezi. You will get to make one of these during the year, and you're welcome to go to Prezi.com and actually make your own about yourself or whatever, just to play around with it and get to know it. So if you have some free time after this and you want to make a Prezi, you are more than welcome to. That'll really advance your education and your learning. So here we go, the Bill of Rights. And the first amendment we come to is Amendment 1, and that has 5 parts. So don't think that when we're talking about religion and assembly and petition that we're going on to Amendment 2. This is all Amendment 1. So the first part, Amendment 1, is that there are 5 freedoms all in this amendment that are protected. The first one that we're going to go over is religion. And there's 2 guarantees of our religious freedom in Amendment 1. Congress can't make a law that disrespects any kind of establishment of religion. So there's no official faith of the United States. You don't have to be one way or the other, and you don't even have to have a religion. That is what our Bill of Rights says. But if you choose to have one, then you can have that religion. Nobody can take that away from you. The second part of that is people can believe or not believe what they want without fear of punishment. So you're not going to be punished with whatever religion you choose, and that's still a part of Amendment 1. Here's another way, a wall of separation between church and state. So the church can't come into the school. If we invite them in or they ask if they can come into our school, then that's allowed, but Thomas Jefferson said a wall of separation between church and state. And Amendment 1 also covers freedom of assembly. So we can use public property to gather for meetings or demonstrations. Some churches gather at schools. Some churches gather in public buildings. Some groups of people decide that they're going to use streets and things like that. And at UGA on campus, sometimes you'll see people that are displaying different signs and things worth opinions. So citizens are allowed to use public property to go ahead and gather for their meetings or do quiet public demonstrations. Amendment 1 also covers the freedom of the press, and this is all the media things. It can be newspapers and magazines, it could be things broadcasted, it could be things on the internet that you might see. We have watchdogs of government. This means that we keep a check on the people that are in power. So the press goes through there. They're like our little freedom of press. They're able to research and do some investigating when things happen that we're not so sure about. They can go and check in and make sure that the government's doing what they need to do. Another part of Amendment 1, you can write down the word petition. This is the right to ask the government to do something or not to do something, and a lot of times people will sign the petition that they agree with this or they don't agree with this. And that way it can create a change in our government. Freedom of speech is a huge one, and you'll hear a lot of people talk about this. So you have freedom of your words, you have different symbols that you may use, you can have things as long as they don't endanger other people in our public and make sure that we're still staying safe. So if you're saying something that's probably ugly, then you might get fired from a job, something like that. But if you're saying something that's your opinion and you're keeping respect of other people's, then you are protected in the Bill of Rights in Amendment 1. Moving on to Amendment 2. This one's really simple. It's the right to bear arms. It protects the right of the people to own guns. Of course, we have to have permits and licenses and things like that, but you are allowed to own a gun and carry it. Amendment 3 says, you know what? We don't have to allow soldiers in our homes. They don't have to stay with us. After the Civil War and the American Revolution, we talked about this. There were soldiers that might have needed to stay somewhere, but while we're not in war, they are not. You do not have to say, yes, you can come into my house. You can tell them, no, this is my home, sorry, and they can move on. So that's Amendment 3. It protects people from having to allow soldiers in your homes. Amendment 4 deals with privacy. This protects people from unreasonable searches and people of their property, and they're not allowed to take anything. So they can't come in and do a search and seizure unless they have the necessary documents.
We hid it up in the cell window.
Wait a minute. What are you talking about?
We bugged Mr. Blake's cell.
You what?
We bugged the cell with Arnold's tape recorder. Just listen to this,
I
Paul.
can't listen to that.
But Paul.
Obie, I can't listen to that. I'm not permitted.
But Paul, you don't understand.
Obie, I can't listen to this. Now, I told you about eavesdropping.
But Paul, this is different.
Yes, it's worse. You overheard a conversation that was supposed to be private. Now, I can't be a party to that.
But Paul, if you just listen to this.
Obie, I can't listen.
Paul, you're erasing the tape.
That's what I mean to do. You bugged a conversation between a lawyer and his client. Now, that's violating one of the most sacred rights of privacy.
But Paul.
No buts.
But if it helps the law.
Obie, the law can't use this kind of help. Because whether a man is guilty or innocent, we have to find that out by due process of law.
So there you go. Even Andy Griffith knows it. If there is a good reason that's shown, then the judge has to issue a warrant. So they have to have a piece of paper before they can come into your house. So this illustration illustrates all the jury that says, yes, that's okay, and all the judges that say, yes, we think that you need to go in and search. And the police officer can't just barge in. He has to show a piece of paper. Amendment 5 says that there's some rights that accused criminals have. The first one is that you have the right to a grand jury hearing. The second one is that there's no double jeopardy, so you can't be tried twice for the same crime. The third one is that there's no self-incrimination, so you can't get up there and be forced to say things that could actually be used against you if you committed the crime. The next one is that you have to have a due process, so the government has to follow really clear rules and make sure that it carries out the law. They can't just make up something. And then there's something called eminent domain. This is your private property, and it says it cannot be taken without just compensation. Amendment 6, so you're moving down to the 6th block, says that there's rights in criminal trials. There's a right to a speedy public trial, there's a right to an impartial jury, right to no charges against you, a right to hear and question witnesses against you, and a right to an attorney to assist in defense. So these are the rights of the criminals. Amendment 7 talks about civil trials. And in civil trials, this is dealing with people like if you have seen a commercial for Judge Judy, and this goes through and deals with people that maybe had borrowed some money from someone or something that they didn't commit a crime against someone, they just need to settle it and they need a judge to help settle it. So anything that's over $20, a value over $20, then after the jury decides the facts, a judge can't overturn that decision.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. The people are real. The cases are real. The rulings are final. This is Judge Judy.
So in that one, they were mad at each other, so they were suing each other for money. And Judge Judy will take it over, they'll listen to each side, and they'll decide if that is the right thing to do, and someone must owe them money. So here we are at Amendment 8. Before trial, they have protection from excessive bail. That means they don't have to pay a lot more than what they have. After trial, they have protection from excessive fines or cruel and unusual punishment. We talked a little bit about that. They can't do something or say something that's not okay, that doesn't, they can't hurt them in a way that's cruel or unusual punishment.
I hereby order you to be tethered to your son.
Tethered?
Tethered. Report to room 5.
Room 5?
So that must be a cruel and unusual punishment for Mr. Simpson. On Amendment 9, people have all other rights, even if they're not listed in the Constitution. You have the right to vote. You have different rights to, like we talked about, if you're handicapped and you need a parking tag in your car, you have these rights, even if they're not listed all out, because we have so many that it would take a long time to list them out. Amendment 10 says that powers that aren't given to the federal government or the United States, or they're prohibited by the Constitution, they're not allowed, they're stopped by the Constitution, are actually the powers of the state of Georgia or the people. So here's the state, and he says, the power is mine because it wasn't given to you by the Constitution, and he's talking to the U.S. government. Here's a quick review song.
Constitution took days and nights, but the writer still had to go look at it twice, cause the states that reviewed it said, here's some advice, it should guarantee freedom, yeah, that would be nice. So the founder said, alright, and wrote the Bill of Rights. Yep, the first 10 amendments are the Bill of Rights. Well, the Constitution took days and nights, but the writer still had to go look at it twice, cause the people reviewed it said, here's some advice, it should guarantee freedom, yeah, that would be nice. So the founder said, alright, and wrote the Bill of Rights. Yep, the first 10 amendments are the Bill of Rights. Number 1 says we can worship as we please, we can have meetings, large assemblies, we can write what we want, it's called the freedom of press. What we feel we can say out loud, we can express.
Yes, concerned about securing your house and your farm? Through Amendment 2, you have the right to bear arms. In order to be free, do you get the picture? Each state has the right to form its own militia.
Number 3 says no soldiers in homes, the government can't just force you to loan your own private house so their soldiers can sleep, especially not in times of peace.
The Fourth Amendment is sure to get applause. No searches or seizures without probable cause. But when there is belief that a crime has been done, a warrant can be ordered then to search someone.
Then on to the Fifth Amendment, no need to tell the government things that might send you to jail. You cannot be accused of the same crime twice, that would put you in a double jeopardy, it's not right. Oh, the Constitution took days and nights, but the writer still had to go look at it twice, cause the states that reviewed it said, here's some advice, it should guarantee freedom, yeah, that would be nice. So the founder said, alright, and wrote the Bill of Rights. Yep, the first 10 amendments are the Bill of Rights. Well, the Constitution took days and nights, but the writer still had to go look at it twice, cause the people reviewed it said, here's some advice, it should guarantee freedom, yeah, that would be nice. So the founder said, alright, and wrote the Bill of Rights. Yep, the first 10 amendments are the Bill of Rights.
Number 6 gives 6 rights to the accused, like the right to know which law you might have abused. It gives the right to a fair and public trial, your own defense counsel, you know there's no denial.
I'll tell you 7 is simple when a trial is civil, meaning that no one in the dispute is a criminal. You can ask for a jury in these cases too. Usually they're over money somebody wants to sue.
For the 8th Amendment, we compliment our government. It won't allow cruel or unusual punishment. Face the judge's hammer and end up in the slammer. You won't pay excessive bail in any given manner.
All the rights that we have, says Amendment 9, cannot be confined only to these written lines. Just because a freedom isn't here on this list, the government cannot say it does not exist.
What was meant when the last of the 10 was written? Government only has power it is given. In order to be equal, power not listed in the Constitution shall be given to the people.
Well, the Constitution took days and nights, but the writer still had to go look at it twice, cause the states that reviewed it said, here's some advice, it should guarantee freedom, yeah, that would be nice. So the founder said, alright, and wrote the Bill of Rights. Yep, the first 10 amendments are the Bill of Rights. Well, the Constitution took days and nights, but the writer still had to go look at it twice, cause the people reviewed it said, here's some advice, it should guarantee freedom, yeah, that would be nice. So the founder said, alright, and wrote the Bill of Rights. Yep, the first 10 amendments are the Bill of Rights. Bill of Rights, the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments are the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights, the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments are the Bill of Rights. Bill of Rights.